Going to talk to you about something called seven sense. Traditionally, we have heard about five senses, and some people have a vision towards the sixth sense where we talk about the intuition. Why seven sense is important for the collective survival of everybody of us? So, Plato told something about five senses. Then gradually, with a period of time, we came to know about that there is something like sixth sense. So all these senses are required for an individual survivor. These senses send message to a brain, and the main do a calculation. Based on a calculation, it try to save himself. So all these things, whether the sixth sense is for the survival of an individual. George Perkins Marshall was a guy before this sustainability came into the picture. So he says that all the nature, everybody of us, all the living organism is connected by an invisible bond which we don't see. And this bond is so important that the act of one person changes the behavior of another, and in order to survive together, we have to take some collective action. We just can't leave it to some organization, some processes or some system, or to some individuals to do something for us. Until unless we do collectively, we are not going to sustain for long. So what is seven sense? It comprises of something called compassion, life, and the earth. Until unless we have compassion towards each other, until we have compassion to all the living and non-living organism, we can't design the system accordingly. So there is always a fight whether we should adopt a capitalist model of development or should we adopt a socialism model of development. So all those things can go away if we have a common vision for everybody. Whatever I think, whatever I say, and whatever I do, if all these three things don't have a harmony, we will not be able to do justice to one another. If we say some organization following the path of sustainability and they want to keep their organization intact, and they think, what if to me outside world to me is not adopting the sustainable practices? They don't understand that the earth is a very closed chamber like this room. If we leave a poisonous gas at one corner and the person sitting at the corner says it's not going to affect me, it's not the right thing to do. So whatever any industry next to our organization do something which is very hazardous to nature, it will come to us. Not today, it will take 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, it will happen. So this is just a diagram which says that how the things enter into our ecosystem. From the air, it goes to the plants, soil, water, then our children go play over there. So it affects us in one way or another. Like we talk about underground water, or the food we eat, the meat, the water, the air we inhale is going to affect it. We say something, some countries like China have a mass manufacturing of the stuff, and they export it to all over the world. So they are doing it. They are using their resources. What is going to have with me? We don't understand that when their resources dry up, they will look for new land to extract those resources. So this is a typical life cycle of products. Why I am showing you this product life cycle is that whenever we design a system to benefit our organization or our communities or our society, we have to keep it in mind that ultimately we have to design the end of the product also. We only rely on the supply chain. We get the material, we use it, and we just get it away from our organization. We never think it how that end product is going to be utilized further. So when we have so many innovation presentation before this. So idea was of those innovation presentation was that we learn from each other. Why learning is important, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody is doing it, we should just pick up the best practices from there. For any new process which we are going to design, or when we have to do the audit of the process which already exists in an organization, we have to do a risk and socio-economic assessment. What is that process? How it is going to affect my operation? How is going to affect the welfare of my people? And how is going to affect the welfare of the communities outside our organization? So there are two models, traditional and green model. This is an example from the chemical industry basically. What we do in traditional model, that we try to mix 2-3 things and want to find out a third thing, which we can use. For example, the housekeeping chemicals we use in your day-to-day operation. The green model says that you don't have to mix 2 and 3 things together, you have to rely on the natural property of that substance, how it is going to decompose with the period of time. Like in the older world, we say heat, beat, treat chemical under high temperature. Now in the green model, we say chemical reaction taking place at the room temperature and pressure. So whenever we are designing any system, so we have to think, is this system natural, or I am going to doing a lot of experimentation in harming the nature. Whenever human try to invent something, design something, we always take inspiration from the nature. Example is the flight. So when the Wright brothers were designing the aeroplane, the thing came to their mind that birds can fly. So still you can see the wings over there. So that was a very traditional model, learning from the nature and designing according to it. So this is an innovation ecosystem model. All the innovation can't happen in vacuum. To have a proper ecosystem intact, until unless one part support other part, we can't design something new. So we need to have science and research, we need to have media, we need to have business infrastructure. All these dots are connected. Until unless these dots are connected, we will not be able to do the justice to the system. Do we remember this picture? Kerala? Everybody knows. What is that? So nature does not negotiate. All the plastic which has gone to the sea, we are the people which we have thrown there in one way or another. We have not designed the system for the reconsumption of that plastic. So nature habit is that it always will give you back. It will never keep anything with that. So I try to connect the waste management, because I am from that industry, to individual karma also. Everybody, we do most of the society and tradition, we always talk about how we can give it to the poor so that we can earn good karmas for that. Have you ever thought that by not designing the proper system, how much injustice we are doing to ourselves as an individual, how it is affecting our individual karmas, and collectively the karmas of the society, and collectively the karmas of the nation, and collectively the karmas of the world. So the waste disposable is very important, because if you do that, in our subconscious mind, we must be earning some good karmas for that. Why this? We talk about sustainability. India always have lived a sustainable life for thousands and thousands of years. So, consumption model was that we produce something, we consume in such a way that it doesn't harm the nature. Traditionally, we used to eat food in banana leaves. We never had the concept of plate or a spoon or a glass of water also, so that the things after the thing, it just goes away like that. This is the crime rate graph from 2016. It says that Delhi is in the top of the list, followed by Mumbai and Bangalore. And one alarming thing is this crime graph says that this graph is ever increasing. Now how this crime rate is affected to the waste management, to the sustainability? There is a theory called broken window theory. This is a proven theory. New York police uses it to catch the criminals. So what it says that if you have a abandoned house at the suburb of the city, people will keep on throwing the stone to break the windows. Ultimately, it will become the heaven for the notorious gangs, and they will create the mess around the city. Ultimately, it leads to the misbehavior and the crime. So it is in our own interest. We should be able to control the waste and control the crime.